Hello, welcome to this session where I'll be responding to questions about myself. So let's get started. The first question is, please tell us about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies? My name is Zipporah Momo. I'm a professionally trained teacher with a bachelor's degree in education. I have an experience of over 20 years in teaching English and literature. My interests include creating an environment for my students that will help them realize their full potential. I give them personalized attention and support to ensure that they see progress and growth in their school life. Also, I love to create a cordial environment between myself and my students, the parents, as well as the community. My hobbies include traveling, reading, especially autobiographies, current affairs. I also love to meet new people and cooking. So the next question is, what motivated you to become a teacher for the subject for which you're applying? So each of us has their own story, and mine goes right back in primary school. I wasn't a very good student in English, but there's this teacher who really encouraged me. She was my English teacher. So she really encouraged me by encouraging me to read and always having a positive attitude towards her students. She was very passionate and she really made me love English. With the time, I realized that I was progressing and that I was loving this subject very much. I always looked forward to her lessons. The passion she had actually made me want to become that teacher who also wanted her students to do very well and see growth in them. And here I am now as a teacher of English and literature. The next question is, tell us about your involvement in extracurricular activities that you could coach or supervise. I am a trainer of drama and music. So that is one thing that I can coach my students on. Also, I love netball and hockey. I have played those games since secondary school, and I can also train my students in those games. In music and drama, I have taken my students for competitions up to regional levels where they have been awarded and they have trophies in their schools. So the schools have been recognized for the good performance in both music and drama. Now the next question is, what subjects have you taught and at what age levels? After my graduation from the university, I was employed in a private school. It was a primary private school. So there I took the English lessons, science, as well as social studies. I was also involved in some administrative duties where I helped the school as a head teacher. After leaving the primary school, I was employed by the government, and I have been teaching English and literature to high school students of Form 1 to Form 4. That is about the ages of 13 to 18. The next question is, how do you prepare to teach your lessons and what do your lesson plans include? Now, the first thing that I have to check on when I'm planning for my lesson is the standards set in the curriculum. So I'll use those standards to also set the objectives of my lesson. And I also include my learners, that is their strengths and their weaknesses and their different abilities. The struggling students as well as the high achieving students. I'd also want to ensure that I consider all of them when writing my lesson plans and that I don't leave anyone behind. The materials or resources that are available will also be part of my lesson plans. So the next question is, talk about 2 teaching strategies or methods that you effectively use in your classroom. Now, the strategies that I always use in my class is differentiated instructions. So I know that in most classes we have different ability groups. I have the students who are struggling, I have the average students, as well as the high achieving students. So I always differentiate my instructions to ensure that I ensure that each and every student has been catered for and no one is left behind. The other strategy I use is the active learning strategy. In this case, my students will be involved in group discussions, a lot of teamwork, as well as engaging in tasks that ensure they are interactive and they involve themselves in a lot of activities. So my learners will be speaking in class. They'll also be asking questions, and the class will be generally active. The next question is, when someone enters your classroom, describe the learning activities in which the students are engaged. When you get into my classroom, you'll always find a very busy and active classroom. So they'll be busy with discussion groups or doing tasks that have been given by the teacher. Also, they'll be busy asking questions, so that even as I give them some work, I'll be busy going around to ensure that I'm facilitating and also checking on their work, listening to whatever they are doing. In this case, I'll be able to correct or even approve of the work that they're doing. The next question is, what methods do you use to evaluate your students' progress? Now, I always begin my year by ensuring that I know where we are beginning with my students. I would want to know the abilities of my students right from the onset. In this case, it will help me to know where I'm coming from and where we are going with the students. I will use tests or quizzes, and especially at the end of the lesson, I'll give them the tests and quizzes to ensure that I actually they have learned something during the lesson. I also give end of week tests, and I give holiday assignments or homework to ensure that I follow up on whatever it is that they did during the term. At the end of the term, I also give end of term exams so that I'll be able to follow up on what we did throughout that term. The projects and other assignments are also part of the way I monitor the progress of my students. Now, the next question is, if you use technology in your teaching, describe how you do incorporate it into your teaching. Describe any experiences you've had with a smartboard. Now, I use technology in my lessons. I go with a computer to class, and in case I want to teach a lesson on, for example, the set books we are reading, and I want them to watch the characterization or the character traits of some of the characters in our books, I will go with a computer and project some of the acting out that has been done. In this case, we'll be able to discuss with them the character traits and even the themes and any other thing that may come up. Also, I use radio in my class, especially storytelling. I would want my students to listen to stories and respond to questions that I ask them. I also use a smartboard in giving grammar quizzes as well as vocabulary, or also when I want to engage my students in activities that they are not very well aware of. For example, things that happen outside their environment, maybe overseas, and since they are not in touch with those kinds of cultures or different kinds of people, I would use a smartboard to bring that reality into their classroom. So the next question is, if you have students who are noisy or non-attentive, share ways you regain their attention without interrupting the lesson. In case I have inattentive students, I would bring them back to our class by either getting close to them. That proximity would make the students know that I have noted they are no longer with me, and it may actually jolt them back to my class. I may also engage them by asking questions related to our lesson so that they refocus and they get back to whatever activity we are doing in class. The next question is, describe the most difficult problem you have had to deal with as a teacher and how you did resolve this problem. Now, the most challenging problem that I encountered involved a new student who had joined my class in Form 2. Now, this student became very popular with my students in class. And unfortunately, this popularity brought with it a lot of distractions. She would want to speak during the lesson or even pass on papers to other students, and you'd see them giggle. So I realized that this habit had to be stopped for us to continue learning or continue in a very good environment in class. So what I did is that when I realized she wasn't very keen on changing her behavior, I called her aside and inquired to know her background, a bit of her family, and I realized that she was coming from a challenging background. Her family had challenges, and she would channel that into that kind of misbehavior in my class. So I realized that she needed attention, and I gave it to her. I gave her some small responsibilities in my class, and the moment she did something right, I congratulated her. I gave her some positive reinforcements, and I made my class know that she was actually improving. So in this case, she started slowly changing her behavior, and by the end of the term, she was amongst my best students. She was actually recognized by the school that she had improved not only in her behavior, but also in her academic work. It wasn't a surprise to everybody that she became top even in class. So I was very proud of that achievement, and she actually appreciated the fact that I brought her back to school and made her one of the best students. The last question is, give an example to show that you're a flexible person and that you can make changes to your teaching and methods. Now, in case I teach a concept and realize that my students are struggling or that they did not grasp that concept, I quickly change my strategy. For example, if I'm teaching grammar or vocabulary and realize that some of my students are not with me, then I will ensure that maybe I involve them in maybe by asking more questions, and if they are not actually responding, I may give more examples, or I may use visual aids. I may also put them in some group work so that they can discuss as I follow up on whatever they are doing. This will ensure that even by the end of the lesson, all my learners have grasped whatever concepts that we had for that lesson. So I think that is all about the questions, and thank you for listening to me. I hope to join you soon. Thank you very much.